And here we go. Well, welcome to today's community of practice on workplace coaching. And this is series 2 of this whole um, this whole topic on workplace coaching. Now, how many of you happen to join me in July webinar community of practice? And it happen to be in gray. So in the first series, we talk about coaching as a manager style. Okay, so we are looking at how a need for a unique, not say a unique, a distinct approach for workplace coaching. What it means is that a workplace coaching is not the same as internal coaching or having an external coach coaching the leaders or the manager. A manager using a coaching approach, in leading the staff, we differentiate that as two very distinct roles that we want to separate. One is a leader who is responsible for operations and a leader that is responsible for strategic planning. And what we are focusing on is a leader with an operational responsibility. Now, we all know that everyone is a leader in an organization. So I'm not talking about that kind of leader. I'm talking about leader in terms of a functional role that is entrusted to that individual. So we do recognize that even though you are called a leader, there is a certain main responsibility that you might be playing. And we kind of separate that as, is that primarily about getting results and achieving a certain target. So we looked at that as operation versus those that is in leadership position and responsible to lead the team and create a vision. So that is the two distinctions that we kind of like agreed upon in the last webinar. So in today, we want to look at the other category, which is lead managers or leaders in an organization, specifically entrust with leadership responsibility. That means this is not just a leader or a manager who is a leader that is helping to achieve targets and yes, they are responsible to lead the team, lead the organization. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. And today we would like to examine it with this perspective of how you as a coach, how are you going to, as an external coach, working as external coach serving in organizations, coaching leaders or managers in this capacity. Okay, or it could be you as a manager or as a leader in an organization who happens to have completed a coaching training and you are considering how can I incorporate some of the learning that I've gained in this training to support yourself as a leader to lead the organization. So far, so good. It's important to have the distinction clear first, huh? Good. So if that is clear, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to cover actually two main pointers or two main discussion. The first discussion is around the environment first, the context in which leadership is happening. And then we would like to use that as a springboard to move to the next part of the discussion is if we now have this understanding of the context, what's the impact or implication for me as an external coach, supporting an organization, coaching their leaders, or me as a leader in an organization who happens to have a coach training background, how can I use what I have to now maneuver, navigate, strive, flourish, or work within this environment? So far, so good? Great. So these are the two big ideas. And we're going to use a lot of the Mentimeters to help to collect some polls and input. And then from that, we're going to move on to a dialogue sessions. Clear? Great. So to set the stage, I got a very interesting video. Okay, so let's watch the video. And as you watch the video, perhaps you might want to make a guess as to where are we going, with this video. Okay, clear? Good. So are you ready for the video? Okay, so by the way, you will be very surprised what video we are going to play. Now, let's check in first. Any idea what videos are we playing? Okay, just make a guess. What kind of video do you think we'll be showing? Come on, make a guess. Don't put in the chat box. Okay, Caroline, go ahead.
Animals.
Animals. Ooh, okay. Who say animals? Yeah, cartoon and animals. Yeah. I love animals, and I kind of like created a 12 series learning leadership principles from animals. But today we are not looking at animals, but something close to animal. Sexy video picture. This is professional coaching, a very serious person. I'm seriously funny. Okay, let's watch this video, okay? And try to think, as you watch it, remember, okay? Think about where we are going with this video, okay? Yeah, enjoy this video clip. What happens to the dinosaur?
150 million years ago, I had a fulfilling life. But tragedy struck, which eventually led me to my new home here at the museum. I am commonly known as Tyrannosaurus Rex, but here I am affectionately known as Stan. After years of searching for the truth, the event that caused the demise of my family and I is still a mystery to me. There is a lot of evidence and plenty of theories that point to what. Can you help shed light on the truth?
Great. So, where do you think we're going with this video? You make a guess. Joanne, you go first. You're smiling.
I'm wondering, is it like a parallel? If you don't evolve with the times, you're gonna get left behind and you're gonna find yourself in a museum.
Yeah. Okay, that's the big idea. Okay, that's the big idea. What happens to our dinosaur? And we could kind of like in parallel, what happens to our leader today? Okay. Well, we need to recognize that for the past 24 months, before that, Cosmac from somewhere hit the work, hit onto organization and create a big impact. Okay, a big impact in our operating environment. And well, we would like to find out how are our leaders, coping so far with this new radical change. And the truth is this, okay? You either have the capacity to quickly evolve, or we're going to say, sayonara. We're going to see you in the museum. Agreed? Now, I mean, Albert Einstein, defines stupidity as doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting different results. So the big idea, not the big idea, the stage that we want to set out is that, hey, that is something that has impacted the workplace. And henceforth, we need to really reconsider how is leaders is going to show up in workplace in this totally new environment. Got it? Great. So to do that, we're going to run a poll now. Let's say run a poll. We're going to run a Mentimeters. Okay, a Mentimeters. So go to the chat box and then click onto that link. And we're going to bring you to, do you see the first page here? The first page has this this introduction idea. Okay, what is the introduction idea? An organization is as good as the people it employed. So over the last 2 years, I mean, for the past 2 years, you know what I mean? The last 2 years has been really surviving. How many of you agreed to that statement? Some of you are better off, you're not surviving. But for us in Coach Masters Academy, when it first began in 2020, we have been doing online in-person training all this time. I mean, the only time we run the online training, maybe, for the last 8 years was just only one time. So when the pandemic hit, wow, okay, it was really panicking for us to quickly, convert everything, from an in-person training to online training. And for those who happen to have completed the blended training, the in-person versions, you will see that the way we run the online training is radically different from the in-person training. Well, of course, the concept is there, but the method of delivery, the interactions, the way we, structure the engagement level is totally new. And for that last 2 years, you can ask the faculty members, oh my God, he changed his mind again. Oh my God, this has changed. Oh, is it? Which version are you talking about? Okay, so we are all trying to put our hands together. So with that in mind, let's move on to the poll here, and we would like to find out from you, okay, how things has been for you, in the past 24 months. Okay, for those who happen to be in an organization, wow, that would be great. But if not otherwise, you can look at yourself as a external coach trying to reaching out to organizations. Okay, so the first poll is that we would like to know, how would you actually assess the impact that it had on your work professional life? Okay, so there are 5 different degree of impact, from 0 to 10, 11 to 25, 26 to 50. So let's have a look at the overall impact it has on this group of people. I mean, this audience that we have. So we're almost hitting 50%. I'm going to wait until we hit over 50%, then I will share the results of the poll. If not, otherwise, it might influence your decision. Okay, so we just need a couple more people to vote in to cast their poll. Then we'll get okay. So we are ready to take a look at the results here. This is the poll that is collected from this group of audience. Okay, so let's have a look. For most of us, okay, I won't say most, yes, most vast majority of us feel that the impact is at the higher end of 76%. Okay, relatively few, as about 17% sees the impact, in a lesser form. Okay, so that's good in terms of statistics. What I'm interested now is, with that in mind, okay, the extent of impact that it has for you in the professional front, we want to take a look at here as the these next questions. Okay, share with us. Okay, share with us, what are the impact right now? So we are not interested about the degree right now, but we like just to take some time here to think about the impact that you are experiencing. Okay. Now we know that we all have to move on to online platform, and we have to figure out the technology here. But so just put the technological apart, or trying to figure out how to use the online platform. Okay, so those, I think everybody are fully aware. So apart from these two things, I share with us, okay, what exactly are those impact? Okay, great. So let's take a look here. You might want to be a little bit more specific, as in, what sort of change are you referring to? Yes, the digital space is important, but that is just mentioning the subject matter. It doesn't really tell us exactly what's the impact that you personally experiencing. Isolation, wow, okay. That's very yeah, very insightful about that. More flexibility. Okay, so more flexibility is an impact. That's an interesting perspective. That no motivation. Working from home, the expectations, okay, newly acquired by different organizations. Okay, mode of working, work-life balance, agility is being expected by employer 24/7. Okay, I have had to be more flexible, wow, and trusting while working with team members remotely. School stuff. Okay, running hybrid workshop. What's the impact in running a hybrid workshop? Now we want to differentiate between challenges and impact. Okay, so focus on the impact, not so much on the challenges. Flexibility, that's interesting. Later we will really want some of you to share how is having flexibility and impact for you in your workplace. Okay, less interactions, way of thinking. We love to hear that a little bit more. What are you referring to here? Okay, no opportunity, retraining. Physical buildings are overrated. More openness to working from home. Okay, that might be the challenges or the context that you're dealing, but what exactly is the impact here? You might want to elaborate further. Reduce connection, lesser teamwork, more attention to well-being as an impact. Okay, let's hear that out later on. There's more reflection about life and the role. We will love to hear this later on. Okay, the first whoever have contributed this, more reflection about life. Now, I have a slide for that, so we're going to reserve that when we arrive at that discussion. Okay, great. So let's just pause here. Good. So let's talk about it. Anyone would like to contribute? I'll explain a little bit more, share a little bit more, or give us a little bit more insight about some of the things that is written over here. Who have contributed flexibility as an impact? Is that Caroline? No, Caroline, go share with us, Carol.
I think in terms of flexibility, because we haven't returned back to full normal working environment. So on any one day, you could be expecting a team member to turn up to office. You get a message, they have flu or something, they're asking to work from home. So at any point, you get those requests, I'm working from home today. And then, so that kind of flexibility has increased more and more, and also to trust that when they're working from home, they're actually working, and then also focusing on more output based, looking at the outputs at the end of the week or end of the month. So the flexibility has really, it's not about seeing people face to face, but trusting them when they can't come in, that they are working effectively where they are.
Wow. Okay, thank you, Caroline, for sharing. Really appreciate that. So based on what Caroline has shared, how many of you agreed that the demand for a response significantly increases over the last 24 months? That means when you send an email, you actually expect the person to respond immediately. So that expectation for faster response time, do you notice that it kind of like increases? That you're getting I won't want to say you're getting a little bit impatient, but that is the expectation that things have to be right here, right now, right? The connectivity somehow created this expectation, that why is it that this person is not responding? Why is it that, and every time when you hit the email, do you notice that you seem to be hooked into your mailbox looking for the response from that email? Do you notice that? great. Now that you notice that this is a behavior pattern, I would like to invite you to share with me, how is that shaping the way you are showing up as a leader? Anyone would like to share? Hi, go Jesus.
Yeah, Ben, it will be to be seen as a very task-oriented manager or leader, right? And there is no not enough consideration or understanding of the staff situation or well-being. Yeah, and therefore perhaps leading to things like motivation, lack of trust over time.
Yeah, it felt like honeymoon is over now. Metaphorically, do you know the honeymoon concept? Then two couples just get married, everything is tolerable. Okay, everything is tolerable. But then after a while of being together, somehow you get to see the real person, and that's where things, the relationship has now put into a test. Ooh, okay. It really exposed, the very nature of what is, not say that this is who you are, but it truly exposed the very raw base of, if you are ready people-centric leader, you are ready people-centric leader. And if you are task-centric leader, maybe over time during your course of your work as a leader, you have learned to kind of like manage your behavior, as in learn the right manner of how to treat people. But then because of the pressure that you're undergoing, it kind of like came off, and it fully opens up the task-centric focus that is at the core inside you. Well, I do looks like an angel when I'm doing a coaching conversation, which most people say, oh, look at Ben. He's so, wow, you can listen so well and connect so well with the client. Well, you can ask the faculty members. Well, that's not exactly how it looks like working with Ben. So the task-centric, the choleric nature of getting the job done seems to be more, and it seems to have a little bit more display over that, or display over it over the last 24 months. Okay, anything else? Anyone would like to share? How is that? What sort of impact do you notice about yourself over the last 24 months as a result of this cosmos hitting the earth? Anyone would like to share? Hey,
May
hi,
I share?
Louise. And then after Louise, we have Isabel to go. Louise, you go first, Louise.
Yeah, I think the motto, YOLO, you only live once, has taken place.
Okay.
Yeah, for a lot of professionals that I know. And I may say that they are quitting their jobs for different reasons because of the YOLO motto. This is the
Wow.
experience I'm kind of witnessing. Yeah.
Good. How about Isabella? Thank you, Louise, for contributing that. How about Isabella?
Hey, yeah, how are
Oh,
you?
Isabel, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I've been called many names. So what changes has brought working from home because of the pandemic? I think there is positives, right? It's like working from home, have better family life, have time for your family, but isolation from not meeting people, because you see just half an hour meeting, you finish, there is no coffee afterwards. There is no bumping into new people in a business setting.
Okay.
And I think because I work in a call center as a coach and a manager, it feels like you're controlling more people because they need to be at their desk. And as a manager, you don't want to be checking, are they active, are they off, or did they go into the toilet, or they're sick, or So I think how can you be a good manager without looking like you are controlling? But also you need to make sure that you get your goals and your day done.
Yes, yes. Thanks for sharing that, Isabel. Because the next questions I'm going to pose is to coaches who is coaching leaders and managers during the past 24 months, right? Because all this impact is real, and it will certainly influence the way your client, who is happen to be a leader that is hit by this impact, the way they're showing up. Okay, good. So we're going to, I took now one very key word that Isabel has mentioned, task leading to control. Okay, so this is a big topic there, because I think to a large degree, some of the things that you're coaching your clients has a lot to do with their perceptions of control. Okay, so that's a very important insight. Okay, good. And Martina, would you like to go next?
Yes, Ben, and there is another analogy which really strikes me very much when I'm in as a trainer and as a coach in organizations. Relationships build up trust, and if you don't have the opportunity to really be in person together, meet each other, you lack the strong personal building up strong personal relationships, and that's how how you create a lack of trust within the organization, within the relationships, and that leads to exactly what you are saying. People are just looking at the tasks and don't trust the relationship anymore.
Yes, yes. In other words, to be using a very hard, a very strong word, selfishness, self-centeredness. Well, we don't want to
Because
say
you're
that,
just with
right?
yourself. That's true in a way, but you are just looking after yourself and you optimize your own life. You are not really into collaboration and not considering the others. You're just leading by your tasks and your goals, because you're driven by so many tasks you have to do. The load has increased a lot, and the communication channels. So you're just overwhelmed by everything. Yeah.
I see the shadows casting upon us right now. Okay. I'm not sure about you. For the last 24 months, I've been working with a few CEO, and I can't help it but to notice there's such a strong focus on my need and how I'm not getting certain things in my certain way, but not being able to see a bigger picture, not because they lack of that capacity, but somehow that the focus is more within. It's like somebody is taking away, something from them, and they had to fight so hard. Not, metaphorically, right? Good. Now I saw Aurora, that you raise your hand. Go ahead, Aurora.
Yes, thank you, Ben, because I wanted to elaborate a bit more on Martina's comments, this self-egocentric, because for me, especially, I'm working as a consultant and as a coach both. So, and from the leader side, this period helped me to work specifically on that part. So see more or understand better the other situation and behaviors, and try to be myself, less egocentric. And I mentioned here, less egocentric, less demanding. I'm a quite demanding person. And this helped me to see, oh, wow, so I slow down. And put your on the shoes of the other person. That's probably, let me put it in this way, I couldn't see before. So it was an opportunity for this personal growth, being, as I said, less egocentric and less demanding as well. So
great, thank you. How would all this understanding of the impact on the workplace serve us as external coach serving an organization? Well, for me, I can only say from my own experience, I don't have a lot of coaching clients, for the past 24 months because I'm spending a lot of my time online trying to get the online training on board. Okay, so I left with only about 5 or 6, coaching clients over the past 24 months. Okay, but those are basically CEO, and they are having difficulty in navigating, the leadership responsibilities and trust, and the organization felt that they need a sounding board, a coach to support them. I can only say from my dad perspective, what I observe about coaching this group of leaders during the past 24 months versus coaching, leaders outside those 24 months. I noticed that most of my coaching conversation, I'm not sure is that because of my own personal growth as a coach in these particular directions, but I noticed that most of the conversation is around embracing their shadows. And it gets into a very deep space, allowing them to really examine, whatever that has been exposed, that has been kind of like opened up as a result of the impact, the tensions, as in the task load, the workload on the task, the demand for more control to get things done, and that kind of opens up a lot of their shadows. And I notice most of my coaching conversation tends to surround, okay, for me, my current growth as a professional coach is not about really helping them to get rid of the shadows, but it's more on helping them to embrace that shadows and use that as a way to learn how they can call out, a new way of being by embracing their shadows. Now, love to hear from a few of you who had this opportunity of working with leaders and managers during the past 24 months. What can you say about the coaching during this period of time? That is my story. Okay. Anyone else would like to contribute? Oh, suddenly everybody.
Joanne here. I can share a slightly different perspective
Go for it.
from my little sphere of the world. I found that the demands on leaders from top leadership has increased, and therefore the demand for coaching these leaders has also increased.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why is, and I think it was mentioned in the chat, you only live once. This new mindset is not just, it's percolated through a lot of employees since the pandemic, and employees are leaving, great resignation and all, right?
Yes.
So employee engagement and employee retention has become top of the game.
Yes.
And because this, in the last 4 to 5 months, that's been the usual season for employee engagement surveys. And so that's when leaders start to take action and realize, hey, this is what my staff is demanding from me now. This is the kind of leadership that they're looking at.
Yes.
And therefore, it's now gone back to the leaders, and the leaders are realizing how I show up as a leader, at least externally from a leadership behavior. For the more reflective ones, inwardly, who I am as a leader, that has risen to the fore. And from that, the demand for coaching and the value of coaching has increased.
Wow.
And I'm seeing that across a couple of organizations.
Wow.
So I just want to share that.
Yes, thank you. There's a similar theme here, as that is that call for inner journey of how I'm going to show up as a individual or as a being in a workplace with this role called a leader. Yeah. How about the rest of you? Do you have similar experience here? Well, for the last 24 months, in terms of, comparing that with before the pandemic, in terms of, now, before the pandemic, most of the coaching topic is all embracing effectiveness. Okay, it's more in calling out the strength in them, maximizing, whatever, that they already have. That tends to be more the topic. I'm not saying that that is no, a opportunity or no case in which I have to work with the shadows. But what I'm noticing that the past 24 months, it tends to have more work on the shadow part, or more exploration on the being part of a leader? Okay, great. So is there anyone else would like to share? If not, I would like to move on to the next discussion point using this as a context. Good, great. So now with that in mind, we're going to move to the next context. What's the big R? Okay, here's the beautiful slide presentation that I put. What happens to our dinosaurs is what happens to our leaders in the workplace. And now that we know this is what happens to our leaders in workplace, what does that inform me about my role as a coach or as a leader in the coach? Huh? Good. So what's the big idea here for today that this learning session together is this. Leaders who succeed in leading their organizations, leaders who succeed in leading their organization to know the seasoned and to adapt themselves. So that's my favorite icon for our workplace coaching. Chameleon. It's like chameleon. Chameleon. Is that how I pronounce it? Chameleon. Great. Be the chameleon leader. You can't just be one thing in leadership. The need to quickly adapt to a changing environment seems to have a greater emphasis right now as a result of the past 24 months. And we want to use this as a concept to think further about my role right now as an external coach or as a leader in the organizations. With that in mind, okay, let me make it to more realistic one. The dinosaur belongs to the past. Okay, that is just an analogy to help us understand about the changing season. Now, in a workplace context, do you know that the workplace has went through 4 different kinds of evolutions? Industry 1.0, Industry 2.0, Industry 3.0, and Industry 4.0. Are you familiar with this? Industrial evolutions. These 4 evolutions is similar to what happens to our dinosaur, that it actually shapes the entire landscape of the workplace. Just like a dinosaur, who surviving in those times, they are not familiar of the changing landscape, and as such, they died. Okay, in those contexts. Okay. Now that we are aware, if we are aware of this changing landscape, it perhaps suggests that you might have a possibility of surviving it. So first, let's take a look at what are these 4 evolution. Well, I'm not going to talk about the 4, but we're going to talk mostly the 3rd and the 4th, because that is more relevant to our time here. So as you are, I found a video for this that briefly talk about the main idea of the industry in 3.0 and the industry 4.0. So as you're watching the explanation on the characteristics of this industry, I want you to think about how, as you hear the different industry and the different industry that is presented to you, I want you to think about what do you think is needed most at that point of time to survive. Got it? Good. So let's watch this video and think about, if that is that particular age, what do you think is needed for the leader to survive in that particular age? Okay, so we're only focusing at 3 and 4. So here we go.
What is Industry 4.0? And what does it mean for you? Technology is driving change across all areas of society. Not only do we increasingly use it and even rely on it in our personal lives, we also find our workplaces digitally evolving, with more and more processes now being undertaken using technology. This change is known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 will see many tasks that were once performed by us now being automated. With the collection and analysis of real-time data, artificial intelligence, and the ability for all components of a production line to talk to each other, production can be really efficient and personalized according to customer needs. But what does this mean for us? With increased automation, our time will be freed up for concentrating on more complex tasks. We will need a workforce who are capable of building, programming, and developing these technologies, but also making sure we are applying them to our lives in an ethical way. There are core skills that we can offer that technology cannot replace. The human touch is going to be incredibly important, ensuring effective communication, problem solving, and supporting change management in this digital environment. There will also be a greater need for joint working across disciplines, creating new innovations. The future job market will be looking for graduates with an open mind to explore the unknown future possibilities. We will all need to develop our skills in order to embrace, adapt to this ever-changing environment. What will you do to make sure you are ready and have the right skills to thrive in the Fourth Industrial Revolution?
Great. So let me set the context for the discussions so that you can see the relevancy to the work that we are doing as a professional coach. So number one, from a OD perspective, that means organization development perspective, we all understand that as the world around us evolve and progress, it shapes the way people think, people behave, people respond. From a social psychology point of view, we are interested to take a look at how the environment shapes a certain way of thinking. So far, so good? Great. Now, the world is formed of many parts coming together. There's one important component here in this system called education that plays a very important role in the total equation. People living in this system understands that collectively things is moving as technology progress. And therefore, education comes in to prepare the mind so that the new generation or the generations that is to come have whatever that it takes to continue to strive in which environment? In that new environment that is currently happening. So our leaders receive educations that is informed by the trend that is currently happening. So far, so good. That's the I wouldn't want to say that's an assumption, but I just don't have the word to say that. That's the basis for our discussion for the next part of this presentation. So what is it that we're going to discuss now? If that is true, the world change, education prepares the mind for that world that is currently changing. When people finish the education, this becomes our leader, and this leader that is shaped by the educations that has been created to prepare them for the world will have a certain way of thinking. And then they get into the world and they're supposed to lead that world. However, the world is constantly, and it takes 2 generations to prepare a new generation. Okay, so now you get to see where the problem is. Okay, but with that in mind, let's move on to the next slide. Okay. Before we get into the juicy part around how do we need, how is that informing me my work as a professional coach? Let us then spend some time to really take a look at what really happens in the environment first, so that we are able to have a more objective, realistic understanding of what's happening, to make our decision more informed, to give a more informed decision on how we need to respond. Is that a fair statement? Right, good. So let's take a look at the next slide that I've prepared for you. Bearing in mind the industrial revolutions, bearing in mind that educations is there to prepare people to enter back into that into that environment. And the big idea here is that leaders who succeed in leading the organization, they need to know the season first, and then use that understanding to adapt themselves to the new environment. That's the big idea. So with that, let's take a look at the few industrial revolutions, and we want to think about how that particular era not impact, but how is that era, what kind of leadership is being shaped as a result of that particular industry. Okay, so the one that is interesting, for us to pay attention to is actually the 3.0 industrial revolution. The 2.0 is the horticulture, okay, where it's all about horticulture, growing and planting, you know what I mean? Good. The next revolution comes about sometimes in 1760 to 1814. And what creates that revolution is advancements of the technology in the area of mechanic engineering. Okay, so with that advancement, a lot of machines is being produced, and those machines now is being used to help to build what has been what the horticulture industry has laid at the foundation. Okay, so generally this period of time, we can say that it's all about machinery producing products. Okay, great. So in a very general, big idea perspective. So if that is true in that, if that is what happening in that era, what do you think might be the major focus if you are the Ministry of Education for your own country and you're back in those era? What do you think you will do as the Ministry of Education? And remember, our Ministry of Education also got KPI. And during that time, KPI is extremely important, okay? Okay. So what do you think you will be doing as a Minister of Education?
We'll train for productivity and efficiency.
Okay, you will go for productivity and efficiency. Good. Yolanda, would you like to unmute yourself and share? What would you do if you are given this appointment back then as a Minister of Education?
Yeah, I would agree. So productivity and also efficiency. And I think to drive for that results, they needed really control in precision.
I like this word. I like this word. Would you like to emphasize it again?
Control in precision. And to do that, to do
what? Can you repeat that one more time?
To control with precision, they need to plan in precision.
I like the other word. And can you emphasize that again? To do what?
Plan.
Oh, what? To do what?
Plan.
Plan. Okay, to plan. Okay. So if we know this is what we want to create, how will you reshape the education? How will you reshape your education system? Remember, before that is horticulture, right? Horticulture, age. So you can imagine during horticulture age, what will people be studying? farming, vegetables, and soil, and fertilizer, and animals, and all those stuff. Okay, now in this new era of industrial age, what do you think will be happening in the universities?
Learning about the complexity of systems and
Wow.
really
Okay, say that again.
complexity of systems.
Okay. What else? Ministry of
Processes.
Education? Come on, everybody. You're all panels of Ministry of Education. Okay, what will you be introducing to prepare this generation of young leaders? Natalia, Natale, Natale. Is that how I pronounce Natalie? Ooh, that's bad. How do,
Natalie?
Natalie, what will you do for Hong Kong if this is we are back in that era? What will you introduce into your educational system to prepare leaders for this age?
I think one of the, it's the same is the complexity, actually, because
Good.
all the things that all you cannot do it in a direct way, have to be like
Okay.
was
You're
that
crossing
the
over to
next thing.
4.0 already. You're crossing to 4.0. You're crossing to 4.0. Okay. There's always an overlapping. Okay, there's always overlapping, but I think the bottom line here is management system. Remember, during agriculture age, they have certain procedure, but they are not necessarily a system. It's a cycle, right? So a cycle is very different from a system. So then they have to upgrade young leaders to think about system, to think about management, not so much of execution or production, not so much of doing one piece of the work and do it well. They have to see how the different components can come together in a more efficient way, smooth, right? So if that's the kind of thing that people are expected to do, what kind of leader do you think will be produced as a result of this period? Talk to me. Yeah. What kind of leaders generally will you be producing? Leaders who are able to get results at
In
the
an
shortest
efficient
possible
way.
time, get efficiency, speed, complying, control with precision. Everything must be within my everything must be within my knowing. Anything that is not within my knowing, I'm not a good leader. Because how can I be able to manage a system if I cannot know what's happening in the system? Got it?
And
Great.
I think it has to be under my control.
Yes. My responsibility, my control. If I don't know, then this is not good. I will collapse. If I don't know something, I need to know because the entire system cannot fail. Back then in the government sector, they have this operational readiness at 99.99%. Total redundancy. That means in any one time, if a system failed, the next moment, a redundancy system will have to take it over. And we're talking about the main system running at 99.99% readiness. And yet with another duplicate set of system mainframe standing by to take over just in case got 0.001% of failure. Right. And as as a computer center, as you're managing those data centers, everything has to be within my knowing. You have to report to me. So far, so good. Those are the era that will eventually, I mean, there's nothing wrong about that. Remember, there's nothing wrong about that because that is what is needed for that era. During that time, they have not seen 4.0, right? How many of you still remember in 1980s, 1990s? Oh, we haven't arrived there yet. Okay, so sorry, this is industrial age. Okay, productions. Okay, production, producing, getting results. Okay, at a faster speed. Okay, so there is a very strong focus on leaders who can get output. So if you're trying to coach leaders to get an output, very likely you're still stuck in this industrial age, okay? Because the world since then has moved on. We're not saying that getting result is not important. We're just saying that there is something far more significant right now as the world evolves. And now we're going to take a look at the second part here, okay? After the industrial age, remember, each revolutions opens half the way for the next revolution as technology evolves. So in this period of time, there is great focus on mechanics. So a lot of minds has been trained in mechanics, and you can see how mechanics works. They are very system-based in terms of, you know, how things come together, work together to produce a result and da. So if this is what people is studying, they will be thinking like this. Okay, so that industrial age eventually opens the way for the next industrial revolution. And that industrial revolution is called the information technology age. Okay, now remember back in 1980s, 1990s, the famous music that we always hear. Remember those times? Whoa, you got 386, 486, Pentium. Remember those times? So that's the beginning of the information technology age. Okay, which is fundamentally very different from the industrial age. We're not saying that the industrial age no longer becomes important. We're saying that there is a greater emphasis in this particular area, and as such, education once again will have to prepare the mind for then, you know, for leaders to lead, you know, continue to lead. Okay, now remember back then the millennium bugs. Remember when we crossed over 1999, 1999 crossing over to 200, the millennium bug that the whole mainframe will crash. Okay. I'm in that era, and I mean, you know, my first part of my career is in the IT industry, and that's, you know, what I've been doing 24/7. Okay, and I remember those times, you know. So now that you have that vivid, a very clear impression of those periods, now let's go back to the same drawing board. How do you think leaders are like in this particular period of time? You're thinking too much. Claire, you go first.
I'm thinking that the leaders are adjusting to changes as they're coming up.
Oh, you're planning for crisis. Okay, planning for crisis. That could be true. What else? What else?
They are also embracing. They have to be agile. That's really what I'm saying, because a lot of new technology is showing up, so they require the agility to embrace it.
Okay. What else? That's one thing that has fundamentally changed from 2.0 to 3.0. One very important shift happens in these transitions.
They are transformational, not task-oriented.
Okay, that's one good perspective. How about Taraka? Sorry.
Was it the inclusive leadership where leaders were more had to?
This is 4.0, 4.0. This is don't confuse. we are taking time machine back to 1980s, 1990s, 2000, 2010. Way back that time. Okay. One thing. Think about your time when you're working back in 1990s, 2000, 2010. What was the focus? What was the emphasis? What was the thing in the workplace that we're talking about?
I think it was
Go for it.
I think productivity, and it was very hierarchical. So we
that is
submitted
more
to
in the industrial age. That is a spillover. Okay, so it spills over from the industrial age where there is a need for hierarchical control over power, so that you get to know, things and manage things. Okay, so that is a spillover. Now remember, during each transition, you carry over something. Okay, and it remains there. Okay, until the new industry fully transform the mind, and it takes quite a while, a few generations to do that completely. But of course, it getting faster and faster each time as we move with more revolutions. Okay, but the hierarchical part is a spillover from the industrial age. But you can see right now there's lesser emphasis of hierarchical power, right? Because the information and technology age has somehow complete his cycle in producing a new breed of leaders. Okay, so that is how the era works. I saw a hand raised just now. Martina, would you like to share?
Yeah, I think this human centricity became more and more important. You needed to have more knowledge within the company and needed to decentralize your knowledge within your organization.
Okay, great. So things are starting to shift right now. Okay, can you see a major shift in terms of the operating environment now decentralizing, connecting? That's the time when this idea starts, this concept of people-centricness, people connections start to show up. But again, it takes a few generations before it becomes a distinct characteristics as that particular evolution becomes more mature. So one of the big shifts from industrial to information technology is engagement, empowerment. Okay, so that's the bridge between the two. Okay, good. Now the story has not completed yet. Okay, because each evolutions brings new evolutions when that technology continue to mature, applications catch up quickly, new minds are prepared, they step into the new world, they adapt it well, then they lead a new wave. Okay, so this is how it goes. So while the information and technology path make the transition from industrial age, it then now opens up to a new industry called 4.0. So from information and technology age, it moved over to digital digital age. Okay, where now everything, where there's a multimedia AI technology. Okay, now, in this transitions, what can you tell me is the difference in the human's behavior right now? Wow. Yes, talk about it, because this is where we are in. If you are above 40 years old, you should be able to say something about what do you notice about the change in this transition period from information technology to digital age period. Sue, you like to go first?
Yes, because things are more and more complex and ambiguous, a lot of things are too complex to be fully analyzed and planned. agile and do things by incremental and adaptation has really come to the fore. And it takes a lot of adjustment for older leaders to adjust to not knowing and supporting the team, right? To experiment and do tests and fail fast.
True. So what are some big ideas that Sue has mentioned? Big ideas. I mean, are you listening? I mean, did you hear what Sue mentioned? What are some big ideas that Sue has just shared with us? Key concepts that is in incremental. Okay, there's incremental. What else? Come on,
Agility.
Sorry,
Agility.
Agility could be, but agility is more of the response towards it, right?
Adjustment to uncertainty.
Okay, that's what people need to do. Complexity.
Fast to fail.
Sorry?
Fast to fail.
Fast to fail? What do you mean by that, Taraka? Would you like to give some insight?
I think if I get it right, Sue was mentioning. If you do not know how it operates, you could fail very fast.
Okay, that's true. Okay, but I think what I'm hearing from what Sue mentioned was really the transition. The transition was caused by the strength of information technology to introduce systems and make system works even faster that create much more complex system. As the system becomes so complex, the spill over from industrial to information technology, which is basically more of a linear thinking, doesn't seem to quite cash out with what it now has produced, which is more of a complex thinking. Think about programming coding. How many of you are programmers? Oh, no programmers. Mathematicians? Great. Louise, would you like to shed some light here?
Maybe I see it like the expertise has spread around, is not anymore centered. So the whole organization has really changed. It's more flat. I mean, you have very few people at the top and many more people at the lower levels, then they have to collaborate because the expertise is out of the organization. Or outside.
Yes. So we're looking at the web system right now of something that started as a core, then as you work on it, it actually spread out like a web. And it continues to spread. Okay. So it becomes a web system. It becomes a matrix. Now, if you know AI, basically they are fuzzy logic. Simple as that. Okay. So fuzzy logic builds on webs. Okay, as it grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, so that within the matrix, he can find his own path towards some point. But where is that point? We never know. Okay, but somehow it will travel and it will continue to form new points as you begin to interact with that. That's what the digital age has brought into this space. Now, Arola, would you like to share something? I saw that your hand is raised.
Yes, Ben. I wanted to share probably, I mean, you know that it's what it's called the VUCA wall, you know, the VUCA, which is included the complexity as well, right? And everything is the B is because of volatility, so that is, you know, it's going up and down really fast. The uncertainty, you don't know what it's going to happen, right? The complexity we talk about, and the last one is the R for ambiguity, right? That, well, you never know what is going to happen, right?
Precisely.
And that is quite challenging, right? Because everything is
precisely.
It is
so
with
a
control.
new comet has hit the earth again. So if this time the leaders don't evolve, they're not going to survive this digital age.
Yeah.
Do you see? It's very different world. And it's a far more challenging world because technology right now is the technology that advances the technology. What do you mean? Because when industrial age opens up to computer, especially with industrial age, they're able to produce microchips. With microchips, they create computers. With computers, they make life dot, 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 dot. Okay. Have you ever feel lost, helpless when your computer is down? That you lose a sense of orientation? That you just do not know what to do? How to write? Well, thank God I'm still a tradition. So, and even my wife bought me something like the notepad that I can write, not exactly iPad, because I just cannot operate on these gadgets. Okay, I need papers. Okay. But when computers are down, people literally cannot function. When you lose your mobile, you cannot sleep overnight. Just think about the mobile. Something is taken away from you, right? So the technology itself right now makes things happen even much faster. Compared to agriculture towards industrial, the speed of change is relatively slow. From industrial to information technology, yes, a little bit faster than the previous generation, but when it comes to information technology age leading to digital age, that was like within how many spans? 20 years? Can you think about it? In 20 years. In 20 years compared to almost 200 over years in industrial age. How much is the speed of change increase? 10 times due to technology. And as such, leaders have to quickly, more than ever, jump into this new evolution. Good. So that's why we want to talk about it right now. As you look at this transition, into this digital age, what are some of the lessons that you have learned as you look back at the last 20 years about leadership, about leaders in an organization? What are some of your personal lessons that you have gained? So let's go to the chat box one more time. And I'm going to share the link, okay? And we're going to invite you to share a couple of thoughts here as a leader or as a coach. If if you have not been a coach long enough, then think about those times you are a leader in the organization, and you're looking back in those times, standing at where you are right now. And if you're going to reflect, and ask yourself, what are some of the lessons that you have learned as you look at this transitional stage into a digital age? What are some personal lessons that you have gained? Okay, you might want to turn that into a research paper, okay, and write about it. Okay, and who knows, maybe that research paper that you're writing becomes your executive offering to leaders in organizations. Okay, so each of us, let's take a moment to share one precious lessons that you have learned, okay, about leaders in organization as you look at this important transition. Not so much of the standard answer that you have read in the Google pages about, volatile world and how leaders need to strive. Those are good textbook answer, but I would like you to really take it into your own account. Now, as a leader looking back in those 20 years, or as a coach, looking back, at this transition, why is one lesson that that stood up for you? For me, it really shows the inner journey of a leader. Okay, and how much important is it for leaders to be very clear, not so much on knowing who they are, but being able to go through their own inner journey. Okay, great. So let's take a look. Maybe after that, maybe one or two person would like to amplify that a little bit more. Yeah. Using old operating systems, leader focus too much. You are absolutely right. I'm going to talk about one important lesson that can be drawn from these contributions that I think is worth thinking about it. Okay, to be more open, show vulnerability, letting go, a clearer purpose, yes. Change from directing to coaching to staff, okay. Take risks to be vulnerable, be comfortable in not knowing. Wow. Okay. Now we get the idea why not knowing becomes an important leadership characteristics in the 21st century. Okay. Now that you can see the transitions, you begin to appreciate that even much more. Okay. The importance of learning fast. Whoever said that must be has read a lot on learning agility and being agile and versatile and stuff like that. Okay. Okay. Lean thinking. Okay. Fluidity. Yes. I like this word fluidity. Okay. In fact, it's a very big word. Thinking fluid. Thinking fluid. Okay, thinking fluid. Be agile and adaptable to environment. Chasing up technology. I've stopped giving up chasing technology when I was in IT because I just realized it changes so fast that I decided, well, I'm not going to catch up with it. Okay, couple of things that I'll leave it as a penny of thoughts for you to reflect further as a coach serving an organization. It really emphasized a lot on how leaders are developing themselves. Gone are the day where horizontal development is the is priority for leaders to succeed in the organizations. A lot is required at the vertical learning development. What's the difference? Still remember back in core training, we talk about horizontal learning, vertical learning. Please give me some sign that you still remember. Some of you thinking, what vertical, what horizontal? Okay. Horizontal learning is referring to the expansion of knowledge and skills, the how to. The how to allow us how to do it right. Whereas vertical learning has a lot to do with thinking capacity, perspective, and how they are processing things. Now, we're not saying that vertical learning is all important, but as a leader begins to grow in their capacity of horizontal learning, in order for them to succeed, they need to develop vertical learning, building upon their horizontal development, but not in isolation of their thinking perspective. So far, so good? Great. What does it mean for us as coaches? It really challenges us to reconsider the approach that we take when we're working with leaders in the 21st century. People who advocate that, oh, we need to get results. We need to coach leaders to get results. They might be thinking about helping them to strengthen their horizontal learning. But the world today requires leaders to be able to process complex thinking. So henceforth, your coaching approach of so-called focusing on the end result might be eventually getting you into the dinosaur age. So far, so good? Great. And henceforth, can you appreciate how much we are stressing our students when they're doing the training with us at first level and second level and even up to third level? The stress is not because the knowledge that you are learning is complex. The knowledge is so simple. ACC, only 5 checkpoint, expand, focus, uncover, invite, and then build accountability, 5 handle question. How difficult that can be. It's the most simplified version compared to grow model. Okay, compare with solution focus. Wow, you have so many questions to memorize and you have to get each procedure correct. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, compared to brain science coaching, wow, you have to study how the brain works with all these neurons connection and stuff like that. Ours is so simple. Thinking, inference, learning, inference, understanding. Go for the understanding, watch out for the shift and catch it. And all you need to say, I hear 3 things or I hear 2 things and say in less than 10 words. Right? Simple, right? But yet students struggle with such a simple thing. Is that really difficult to master simple things? No. It's all about here. How are you processing it? So far, so good. How are you making sense of complex system? Now, if a coach doesn't have this experience, now my question is, how will you be able to coach someone in that particular shoe? See what I mean? And that's why one thing I appreciate about Darren Stephen that I kind of introduced in July, that he advocates that the thinking capacity of the coach must be at least relatively at the same par or higher than the client. So he's focusing on thinking capacity, not so much on the coach experience. So far, so good. Great. So now you begin to see why in CMA, we forces our students to process such complex conversation and breaking down into parts. For those who have the opportunity to move on to the second level, you will begin to see the complexity of looking at the parts forming the whole. Then those who move on to the third level begin to realize, oh my God, not only I have to break down in parts, but I now have to form the whole together and make sense of it. What is the purpose behind all this? Is to encourage the coach to develop vertical learning. And as such, it enhances your thinking capacity so that when you are coaching your client, you are able to serve them even much more effectively, coupled with your own experience and a high thinking capacity. And that we can help leaders right now to effectively come out of it. Because as long as they are not able to process here and see a complex system, they remain stuck at where? Where will they be stuck at? In their own little cocoon over here. If the mind configuration is not changed, then how would they be able to experience a change? And henceforth, the next slide is what I would like to end off in today's presentation. What is it that I would like to share as a closing remark here is, take a time to read. Okay, and making a very bold statement, and that is many efforts to change are not transformational. Because for transformational change to happen, there is a need to do what? There is a need, no, not to do what, there is a need for a fundamental change in the operating assumptions to determine that learning has taken place. What does it mean? It means that if the paradigm here is not shift, then there is no learning happens. And if no learning has happened, then nothing has changed, because learning is the result of a change process. Learning is not an addition of knowledge. And that is true way back in industrial age or agricultural age, where you need to have the knowledge. But putting knowledge into your mind is not learning. It's called memorizing. So when there is no learning, then there is no change. And what you are doing is simply putting a handy plus over here. Or take your hand and stop the leak from happening. So the change that is happening based on this concept will be temporal, fixed to the situational context, and the leader walks out not having a paradigm shift in the way of thinking. And that's why in CMA, our transformation approach is always emphasizing shift, 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 and then solidify the shift learn about the shift. And that's where the third level training is all about, helping clients to learn about what the learning is arising out from the coaching conversation that is due to the shift. Got it? Why is that important? Because if the shift is not solidified, then you miss the opportunity to create a new framework, a new frame of thinking. Do you see the point here? And the worst part of it is that it doesn't naturally happen all the time. Even you got a shift, it doesn't mean immediately transformation is happening. But what we can rejoice is that it's starting to make a turn. The shape is now making a change in direction. And that's what we want. We are a catalyst of change by igniting the process of change, and then make sure that they continue to receive the support to allow the change to have its full course through a series of coaching conversations that is building upon the awareness that is arising from the previous conversation. If the previous conversation is a shift within how they are seeing and thinking, and if the next conversation is going to compound on that, wow, can you imagine? You don't need 10 coaching sessions. By the way, I'm just not sure why certain government tender requires 10 coaching sessions. Well, I was keep on stretching my head and saying, why do you need so long? In my own experience, 3 is enough. The clients will be kind of surrendering to you. Enough, coach, enough. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? That's why here in CMA, we always emphasize that the coaching conversation has to be 2 hours. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. okay, 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Reasonable? 40 minutes can do? Right. But not 1 hour. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Good. And do you now appreciate why we do not need more sessions? If you can have a shift happen in every conversation within 40 minutes. Because when you want to create a change, you cannot strip the person to bare nakedness. You need to give that person a little bit of give the person a little bit of integrity of like, okay, that is so much that I'm going to do. And just let the person have the dignity to sort things out, because you're working right at the core of who the person is as an individual, right? Are you excited? Great. And I'm going to give you this wonderful quotation. And what is it? The electrical light did not come from the continuous improvement from the candles. Think about that. It's a radical transformation that we are looking at. It's not a continuous improvement. And that's why I'm rejoicing at the work that we are doing as a professional coach, supporting leaders, offering this transformational change, allowing them to really have an inside-out look at how their internal operating system is and how they're seeing the world, and bring that forefront in front of them to allow them to learn and examine more about it. Cool? And henceforth, the same for leaders who are right now in organization. You might be thinking, okay, if this is what my staff is going through, what can I now use? What can I now leverage on for my coach training to build those, to help my staff to survive in such an operating environment easily? For those in the second level training, 3 competency can easily comes into your mind. Number 1, trust and safety. Okay, so if those have not completed the second level, just stay tuned to that. But put this at the backdrop of your mind. What can I leverage on as I operate as a leader in an organization? Trust and safety, the hallmark of that is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement, everybody knows, but that's not called acknowledgement. And that kind of acknowledgement that you used to have is saying nice things about what had happened. Okay, the power of acknowledgement is to be able to show respect for the progress and the work of the client. Now, the work doesn't refer to the job that they produce, but the journey, the effort, the progress. Okay, so one, trust and safety. Second, active listening. Okay, active listening allows you to be able to identify the pertaining issues that people are presenting. Henceforth, you actually cut their complex thinking into more simplified version. Now, your staff may not be able to process complex thinking, and in the end, instead of complex thinking, they end up complicated thinking. They get entangled in their own little so-called complex thinking, and they cannot unstuck. So henceforth, what do you need to do to untangle them? You need to be able to address, okay, this is where the knot is, and this is where the knot is, this is where the knot is, and present that skillfully, succinctly, concisely onto the table. That is very useful, okay? Third, your ability to inquire powerfully that helps people to go beyond the way of their thinking. That's where the competency of evoking awareness comes in. So far, so good. So these are the competencies that will prepare you as a leader to strive in organizations. Good. For coaches, go for your transformational approach and make sure you develop those muscles. Yes, we know the training is tough, but think about it. In the Chinese saying, good medicine doesn't taste. Okay, good medicine doesn't taste sweet. Okay, good and leaders, generals does not come from weak training. They came from series of battle, and they survive it and they arise stronger. And so the training that you're going through at this period of time, if you're feeling stressed and tired, encourage yourself. Yes, I'm going to be the most, in Chinese, it's called gang hu. That means full of power and might. Cool, great. So in closing, I have prepared a little short video to entertain you. So we talk about leader in this digital age has to be like this creature. What was this little reptile called? Chameleon, right? So let's watch this little nice snapshot of chameleon. Chameleon, is that how I pronounce it? I think so. So here we go.
Chase Beats, St. Petersburg, Russia. So crazy, 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 so crazy, 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 so crazy, 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 so crazy, crazy, crazy,
Amazing. But by the way, do you know how they change their colors? You don't? You think that the pigment changes the color? Well, Google and check it out. The pigment actually don't change colors. The pigment is actually yellow in color. It's a yellow pigment, and that's why it looks green as the primary colors. But what helps them to change color is that in those pigment, they got crystal. It is the crystals that reflect the light of the surrounding that makes them change the color. Crystal in their pigment help them to change color. Coaching competency in your blood helps you to adapt. As you learn to have trust and safety, present, active listening, evoke awareness, certainly you can blend very well in this new combat that hit the workplace. So we evolve into chameleon and we start to dun, dun, dun. Okay. Isn't that exciting? Great. So in closing, should we all share what are you taking away personally and what is it that you are living? What is it that you're appreciating and what are you taking away as we come to the end of our sessions? Let's hear from maybe Fumiko from Japan, right? We'd love to hear. Yes, Japan culture, Germany culture, Africa culture, Europe culture, Ocean Pacific region culture in Hong Kong. We'd love to hear. And Middle East. Okay, we'd love to hear. What are you taking away? Okay, Fumiko, would you like to go first?
Yes, yes, thank you, Ben. Yes, I appreciate the most about today's session is also how also leaders also need to adapt themselves like a chameleon in a ambiguous uncertainty environment, and so as to coach. And also I'm currently having experience. I'm coaching one of the CEO, one of corporate CEO, but he's also just the middle of the kind of like a chameleon. That he's also trying to adapting and also adjusting himself to how to leading this ambiguous current environment, because the great resignation is also biggest concern, and also both employees also start leaving the organization. And how the CEO also need to shift in the current environment. And then during the coaching conversation, I also really loved what you said is embracing the shadow side. Currently, this also the CEO also noticing his strengths, also their weakness, and then knowing the weakness. This is also the challenge to accept and also embrace. But the great shift would come once the person also aware it and also make a shift, making adjustment, and also I'm really taking this as a greater takeaway today.
Thank you, Fumiko. And that's why we can go out there and tell people who do not know about transformational coaching. It's not just for personal coaching or life coaching. It's not airy-fairy. Oh, how do you feel? Okay, it's a very hard process, very demanding process to shift the paradigm. It's not soft. It looks soft, but it's very demanding. Agreed? And we can tell people there is place for transformational coaching in workplace context. They just haven't experienced it. Agreed? Do you dare to say that, yeah, before you attend the training, you thought transformational coaching is only life coaching and soft and okay. Now, thank you, Fumiko. How about our friends from Africa continent? Would you like to share? What is it that you're taking away? We have Claire, Eva, or Caroline, maybe just one person to share. What are you taking away for yourself in today's interactions? Oh, look, Eva is not looking at the camera. She's telling me, don't ask me. Don't ask me.
I can
Claire
go
to the
while
rescue.
giving
Go.
Eva a chance. Yeah, well, Eva prepares. Eva, you're next. Now, so what I've come to appreciate is when a leader comes to you, sometimes they may not really understand what it is they need to address.
Yeah.
But being conscious as a coach of our season, the current age, what is needed of a leader, we should then be in a position to support them. And what is it that is needed right now? We need to support our clients in the shifting in how they are actually thinking. And, they should be able to look at how they're thinking because they need to be able to adjust accordingly. Times have changed. So that is one of the greatest takeaway for me.
Thank you. I would like to add on just a little bit more precision here. Leaders is able to tell you what the issue is. And what they need is to be able to elevate that to what is it that therefore they need to address that will make a shift or a change in the entire system. That will it requires them first to be able to be conscientious about what they're saying, then examine what they're saying, and then learn a little bit about what they're saying so that they can get their own understanding to consider right now, what is it that they need to pay attention to? Okay, yes. So that makes it very difficult for us as a coach because we're talking about double loop and triple loop thinking. Wow, good. Thank you. How about our friends from Middle East? Linda, would you like to share representing Middle East region? And so what is it that you're taking away?
Hi, Ben. Hi, everyone. It's always good to see you all. Actually, I stepped in a bit late, but I'm looking forward to listen to the recording, and I registered for the next session of this. Yeah, so, well, actually, I just want to share this experience with you that today exactly I have received from Abu Dhabi, from a big company, that they really want to do for some people from ministry a leadership program, and they were approaching me to give this program with them. And I was scared because I've never done something like that before, but I know that I was part in Leading with Impact when we gave it, Ben, to someone in Abu Dhabi. And I do know that they are in need of something like that. So thank you, Ben, for creating this opportunity. I think every day the awareness is higher in these companies, and they are knowing the value of ICF coaches specifically, because they always ask me, are you an ICF coach? So I think we need to empower ourselves and strengthen this muscle. Like for myself, I don't really have experience in executive coaching, but I'm really planning to have it because there's a big demand here in the region. Yeah, and I heard from you, Ben, that you're doing this Leading Impact very soon. I would love to be there to in this.
Thank you. It's a full version of workplace coaching. Okay, a full
Yeah, exactly.
version.
Yeah, so thank you, Ben.
Thank
you
you,
for
Lina. Thank you
taking
for
back
sharing
the
this
right
wonderful
track.
opportunity to allow us to know that opportunities are out there for us. Can do. And I like Winnie Oprah, who says, all you need to worry is to show up. Just prepare yourself so that when the opportunity comes, you are there to catch it. Right? Just show up today. You learn something today, great. Take it on. Tomorrow, come back for other things. Continue to add on. That's how things open. Louise, would you like to represent Europe to share with us? And then we have someone from Asia to be the last one to share.
Very quickly, I wanted to thank you. This idea of transformational change versus continuous improvement. I mean, it's never enough to repeat this. It's really, I think, the key message. Thank you.
Thank you. The performance mindset that arises from the industrial age led leaders to perceive that everything is stable. But in reality, when the digital age comes in, it interrupted everything. The very fundamental of the performance mindset that everything is stable now is being shaken to core, like the comets that hit the earth, and bye-bye to our dinosaur. If you don't quickly shift from this performance mindset to a possibility mindset, wow, bye-bye, we'll see you in the museum. You understand what I'm trying to say? And this shift is not just sending people for more training. The training that you now engage, especially for those who are leaders in organization, you have to be very careful because more knowledge, more skills is not necessarily useful, because what you need is vertical learning development and not horizontal learning development. Now, for graduates or CMA, you can understand we don't teach you a lot of knowledge and skills. We are just only teaching you very simple concepts. But a lot of development happens where? Right over here. Students who try to memorize, okay, do this, as in, copy the form without really trying to figure out how things is working, or do not reflect on the recording that they just did, they realize that they're not as skillful as those who take time to reflect at what happens in the coaching conversation and ask yourself, why am I noticing here? And why is it that I miss this element here? Why am I thinking? What does it show us about the concept of determining the focus? These are what helps to strengthen vertical learning development. Got it? Thank you so very much. And may we invite one of our representatives from Asia? Oh, we have not heard from Europe. Let's hear of a representative from Europe to share with us. What are you taking away? We have Arola, we have Kimberly, we got Martina. Oh, we have Luis who just shared. So sorry. So maybe Arola, you want to share your version, and then we have one of our friends from Asia to close us.
Yes, probably my main takeaway is to link the era we are today with the era, let's say the client is in, I mean, her mindset is in, so that we can understand better how to help them to manage this shift, right?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? If they are come from, the previous one and they have to adapt to the new one, to the digital one, so that we have a better understanding on her mindset.
Expectations, what
Yeah,
they
exactly.
are hoping to manage. Now will have to be re-examined again. How they manage things, what is important in the way how they manage in their previous context might not be exactly the same, because stability is not the language anymore.
Yeah. So that's for me the main takeaway, which probably, it has to be, of course, for, what is the person right now, but, understanding this background, I think it gives you a better sense of where is this person today.
Yeah.
And you can have a bit, a more impactful conversation, having this understanding during the conversation.
Good. My approach to the coaching is only 3 questions. Only 3 questions. Where are you right now? What can you notice? How can you apply that in your current location? Simple as that. 3 simple questions. But a lot of awareness, a lot of uncovering, a lot of invitation to learn and solidify what is it that they're able to notice. Simple. Where are you right now? Good, I'm here. Great. Tell me more about that. What do you notice about this? What do you notice about that? What really is important here? What makes that important? Great. This is all that you have said. What's your learning here? What's your insight here in relationship to your context, in relationship to your struggle, in relationship to what you want to say, you want to work on? Great. What can we learn about that since you're able to point the relationship? Good. Now that you got this understanding, share with me. How are you going to apply it? What is going to be changed for you? Simple, right? 3 questions only. If you keep it simple, you will beat the system. You try to make it complex, then you are complicating the matter. See the oxymorons, paradox? It's already a complex system, so you need to think in essence, just only a few ideas. If you can think like this, you break the system. If you try to work around the complex system, you get complicated. Good. Great. May we have last person, a representative from Asia to share with us? We got Sue, we got Joe, we got Natalia. Who would like to share with us? What is it that you're taking away? Waiting. Come on. If not, I'm going to sleep. I've got a long day.
Well, I can just do a quick
Natalia,
one.
go for it.
Natalia, go ahead.
Then after Joe, you do the favor of closing the session. Okay, thank you, Natalia. Go for it.
So it's my learning today, thanks a lot for Ben, is that for a coach, actually we have to empower or the words that embrace our shadow also. It's really important because so many people expected so many things. But what we expect ourselves first. And also the vertical learning is impacts me a lot because you can search, because it is the digital age. You can learn all technical things.
Yes.
Online, everywhere. But the vertical learning is that is the job for the mentor, the coach, whatever.
Wow.
That's the business for that. I think so. Thank you.
Five. So now do you understand why we cultivate learning mindset? Why we empower our coaches to embrace learning mindset, make every inquiry a learning framework, right? Because through this, their direct report get to do learning, which helps to stimulate their vertical learning and not so much in helping them to figure out how to tackle their situation. Right? So it's designed for vertical learning. Good. Take care. Good. Joanne, will you have the honor to close our session tonight?
Sure. I just make one tiny addition, observation and my own reflection, and that is that organizations are still very outcome and performance oriented by and large. But if the coaching process has that same focus on performance, that's where the improvement is incremental. So you get a couple more candles, just to quote that last quote. So you want to get the light bulb. It really is about, partnering your client in mindset shifts and being able to unleash that creativity from within. And that's where you see not an incremental difference, but you see a light bulb difference. And that will be an experience.
Thank you, wisely shared. Is that a good time for us to close our session? And with that, I'm going to close the session with such a wonderful song called The Change That You Wish to See. Okay, so with that,
one thing you
take
should
care,
always
everybody,
keep in
and
mind.
do join us for this Friday,
If you want
8
people
p.m.,
to
the virtual
change,
retreat, if your time permits.
you must first change yourself.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
You have to lead by example. You see, that's the key. You have to be the change that you wish to see. You got to be the change you wish to see. There is no combination to the lock, so here's the key. You got to be the change you wish to see in this world.
Okay, so that's it for today. Okay, everybody, take care. Bye. Our faculty members.